Is he going to improve our midfield? Is he what we need? That kind of stuff. If you're looking on screen right now, this is kind of the 11 that Tottenham have, with injuries at the moment. You got Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, Adorgi, or Spence. Paulinho, Gray's our pivot, Simmons, Odebertel, Moani. That's kind of how we've been lining up in recent games. Obviously, Bentancur's got a 3-month injury. Bergvall, I've actually seen a rumour Bergvall might be fit for the weekend, so we'll see about that. But
really,
just a rumour.
Well, what's he said in the press conference? There's a press conference for today.
Yeah, I'm looking for updates. Haven't seen any more updates.
Anyway,
so yeah, now Gallagher coming into the team. I think most people. Actually, I've got to change his number because I've put him down as 5. Just assuming. Whatever, I'll just bring it back on. So, Gallagher come into the team. I think most people assume he will be taking Gray's position here. Probably. Double pivot alongside Paulinho with Simmons in support. That's, I think, in the number. I think people see him as a number 8. So logically, Paulinho number 6, Gallagher number 5, number 8. Sorry, he's not number 5, and Simmons in the 10. But I think the problem you have here is Gallagher and Paulinho both rate very low for progressive passes. Obviously, it's been a problem we've had, regardless, I guess, who we've had in that middle, whether it's an instruction from Frank or the players. You leave up to you, but the problem is that going to solve the problem of Simmons not getting the ball in these areas here? Is he going to be getting the ball in space like we want in good positions with Gallagher in the double pivot? Is that going to change? Now, if you flip it, I think what you could say is, if people think that Gallagher is a signing in reaction to Bentancur, then would it not make more sense if the midfield comes in and it's Paulinho coming out and Gray keeping his place and then double pivot of Gray and Gallagher? Does that not... Because if it is a immediate response to Bentancur, if he's coming in for Bentancur, that means Paulinho is coming out, and that means Gray is coming into the midfield. I think this is what we could be seeing on Saturday. I think we could be seeing on Saturday Gallagher and Gray in a pivot, because Gray, you still got a bit more of a forward-thinking player, but you've got that little bit of a defensive head on his shoulders. Gallagher's obviously very forward-thinking, but also bundles of energy, so he's not going to leave Gray high and dry. They both, I think, could be looking to try and get Simmons involved in these areas, and I think you maybe don't lose as much passing ability as if you just had Gallagher and Paulinho potentially together. But I think in some games, like similar to how we went to City away, we had Bentancur, Paulinho, that was brilliant. I think Gallagher and Paulinho in that kind of game would be great as well.
Yeah, the thing is about is he a direct replacement for Bentancur? Obviously, Bentancur's got injured for 3 months. We've signed Gallagher, so that will suggest he is. But also, we have seen many games this season when Bentancur and Paulinho have lined up against each other, but we haven't seen it as, the best option to have in games, and it makes us look a bit too sideways and backwards. But let's be honest, whoever's been there, we've been a bit too sideways and backwards. So is it an actual personnel problem, or is it the tactical problem? I think if you look at the passing metrics that Bentancur showed last season as opposed to this season, that would show you it's definitely a tactical structural issue as opposed to a personnel issue. So I think Gallagher's so versatile. I think he can play alongside a Paulinho, he can play alongside a Gray, he can play in the 10 with Javi moved out to the left. I think he can play all those roles.
But in the short term, where do we, like say Saturday, where do we expect, like coming in, first game, we know he's coming straight to the team. Where does he come into?
See, that on screen now, that's what I want to see. But I got a feeling it might be a Paulinho next to him.
I've just got a feeling that...
I hope it is.
Because he hasn't played Paulinho. He's only played him because Bentancur was injured.
Yeah.
Before, it's been Bentancur and Gray. So that tells me that he wouldn't want Paulinho next to Gallagher. He would want Gallagher next to Gray. That's the feeling I get.
Also, Paulinho, since coming back in, his performances have been good.
That's also true. He played very well against Bournemouth, and in the second half against Villa, he was brilliant. So, would you want to drop him? That's also a very good. But in terms of what gives the midfield better balance, I kind of feel like Gallagher and Gray probably does give it a bit better balance.
It depends who you're playing against, to be honest. Like, if you're away to Manchester City or Arsenal, you probably want to see a Gallagher alongside a Paulinho. But if you're at home to West Ham on the weekend, then I'd much prefer to see a Gallagher alongside a Gray.
I think as well, a lot of people, there's some suggestions, as you said, is it possible that with Frank not favouring a left winger, and Frank also really liking his number 10 to be big duel winners and very intense, is it possible the plan is to put Simmons out wide, get Gallagher in the 10, and have a double pivot like that, and with Simmons tucking in a bit, getting a doggy in out, maybe Sousa as well, overlapping in these areas, getting Simmons kind of tucking in, and just Gallagher just pressing the shit out of everyone in these areas here from a real higher up position. And as well, a lot of people are suggesting a lot of Gallagher's best work does come in these areas rather than a bit deeper. Yeah. He's actually not as effective in these areas. He's much more effective when it comes to the final third, late runs, picking the ball up from the edge of the box, and when he's pressing as well. He was one of the best pressers in the attacking third when he was in the Premier League. So is there a chance as well, I guess we'll see on Saturday, but is there a chance that this is actually Frank's idea, to bring him in, put him in the 10 and shove Simmons back out wide?
I think there's a high chance of that, to be honest. We know that Frank has utilised Simmons on the left before at Spurs, particularly when he first came to the club. I think his best work has come from the 10, and whenever he's flourished in games, he has been in those kind of central areas, picking up those pockets of space. However, what you just explained with Gallagher and him pressing from the front and him doing his best work in those areas of the pitch, I can definitely seeing this being, a very likely outcome. Like I said before, he's very versatile, so I think we'll see different setups in different games. But I think in definitely a couple of games we will see this, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, because if he does do it against West Ham, I don't want to see it, because I want to see us persisting with Mathys Tel, because Mathys Tel is riding a wave of a bit of confidence right now. He's obviously questioning his future here, or questioning at least the future of this season, particularly here, in looking for a loan move because he's not getting enough minutes. However, we have heard as well, one of the worries he's not having enough time in the number 9 situation. So if that is the case and he's hell-bent on only playing 9, then probably here's not the right place for him. But I think if he's happy to keep persisting on the left-hand side where he's doing a lot of good work, I don't want to break that up right now. And I think Javi as well just had a really good performance in the 10 in the second half against Aston Villa. So we need to continue seeing the good things that are flourishing a little bit in this team. And Mathys Tel is definitely one of them on the left-hand side. And Javi Simmons in the 10 is definitely one of them as well. So, in my opinion, we will probably see that at some point. But in the near future, in the next couple of games, it has to be Tel on the left and it has to be Javi in the 10. Has to be.
And also, I guess one subtle difference you could see is, could it be a bit more of a how kind of Ange had his 4-3-3, not in the same way, but he had kind of one attacking 8, one more defensive 8, and then obviously he had a sitter. Could it be that kind of element? Maybe Gray, we saw him against Villa on Saturday, in these areas on the ball, splitting between the centre backs. Paulinho was kind of in the mix. Could it be that his idea is maybe a bit more of a 4-3-3, Gray is the sitting 6, and maybe Paulinho and Gallagher as kind of two very combative 8s, and Gallagher given a bit more licence to get forward?
Yeah, 100%. We can definitely. I think we'll see all of them, to be honest. The nature of Thomas Frank and how he likes to chop and change. So
it will differ every game.
I think in all these different variations, I think we've got a lot of football to play, half a season to go. I think we're going to see all these different variations, and obviously you've got Lucas Bergvall to add into that mix as well. So, but if we're going to be focusing on this game this weekend, I genuinely believe it will be Gallagher and Paulinho, but it very well could. I hope it's Paulinho and Gray.
I also think a role he would be actually really perfect for is if you take Gray out and you put Danso in and you go to a back 3, and this kind of You have Odebear there, Simmons there. I think this role here is like this number 8, a box-to-box, like pure number 8, with which who covers lots of ground in a 2, with the 3 behind him. I actually think he'd be great in that role because he gets so much energy, like under Conte in like a 3-4-3, that kind of role he had where like Bentancur and Højbjerg really shone. I think Gallagher could really shine in that. If we ever went to a back 3 and had Gallagher in a double pivot there, I think he'd be brilliant there.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that with what Frank has shown over the past couple of years in the Premier League, that we haven't seen 3 at the back more often than we have. Well, we've seen it like twice. Once against Arsenal and once against PSG.
Yeah.
I think it's mad to me that we haven't seen that more. Particularly, I guess, everyone's going to point to, we haven't had enough centre-backs, but we definitely had 3 on more than one occasion at our disposal. Now we got Danso in the mix as well. We got Ben Davis as well. So do you expect to see 3 at the back, maybe a bit more regular, or at least more than twice in the second half of the season?
Yeah, I thought we would have seen it a bit more. Obviously, the whole narrative around Frank is how kind of adaptive he is. He, not scared to change formation, all this kind of stuff. Maybe he feels like we're not up to speed yet with the back 3 as much as we are with the other formations, and that's why he's reluctant to use it. Maybe it's a case of time. With time, once we build up that way of playing, he'll use it more. But yeah, I'm a bit surprised that we haven't gone to it a bit more. Or it's not. To be fair, it's not like we've looked great when we have been in it, apart from the PSG game.
Well, we've only done it twice. One was really good.
But
it's
hard.
Really
it's hard for me to call for it to be played more when it's not like I've seen us play well there. Like, why aren't we doing it more? Like, we had one good game against PSG. We were absolutely horrendous against Arsenal with the back 3. So I don't know whether he's not playing it because he just doesn't feel like it works, or I just want to see it more just to see if it works or not. I'll be shocked if we don't see it a few more times.
The difference is between the PSG game and the Arsenal game. Obviously, the PSG game was his first game in management, the first game at Tottenham. And the way we utilised that 3 at the back was just perfect. Kudus was pressing so high up the pitch. We were like animals that day in terms of our aggressive nature. And obviously, PSG weren't at the physical level. So maybe that has a big part to play of why it looked so good and why we were so dominant. We had a whole pre-season behind it. Against Arsenal, we just couldn't get out of our own third, basically, in the back, and we weren't even able to utilise it properly because Arsenal just completely dominated us, and they were obviously at a lot bigger physical levels that day as well. So I would like to see it. I would like to see it more.
I think one player, Gallagher, I can see having a really good rapport with is this player coming back from injury now, Dominic Solanke. I think because he's such a great backboard when he backs into players and just lays it off for on-rushing players, either making late runs or gets players involved in the edge of the box. If we can get Romero or Porro or Gray or whatever, getting these passes into Solanke and getting him just laying it off for Gallagher in the box or in and around the box, I think that I can see them having a really good link-up, actually. Hopefully Solanke gets up to speed as soon as possible. But I think that's something to watch out for, Solanke and Gallagher having a bit of a rapport. If look,
it'll be interesting to see when Solanke is going to get really up to speed because he was out for a long time, whole half of the season. So are we even going to see Solanke start regularly until the back end of the season? March, April time.
Now here's a question: what is our best midfield with everyone fit?
Well, if you include Bentancur in there, and
Bentancur, Decky, Maddison, Bergvall, and now Gallagher in there.
Are we talking about a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1?
Yeah, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. Whatever. What's our best midfield? They're unfit. We have to make that decision.
If it's a 4-2-3-1, I think our best midfield is probably, and if everyone's playing at their best, I think it's Bentancur, Gallagher.
Cup final, we have to pick 3 players.
Depends who it's against. I might go with Bentancur, Gallagher, Javi.
Bentancur, Gallagher, Javi in our best.
Yeah.
You think Bentancur's still in our best midfield? I guess, including Maddison and Decky.
Oh, forgot about them. It's a hard question.
And you got Bergvall there as well.
Well, who's the best sitter in our squad? Probably Bentancur.
I guess he's the one. I guess people would say Paulinho, but he's gone for Bentancur, hasn't he?
Yeah, but we're not going on Frank's opinion. We're going on our opinion.
I think Paulinho is probably a better player, but I think Bentancur offers more what we need in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see Paulinho.
This is interesting, though. Interesting update from Thomas Frank in the press conference. First of all, he says Richie's out for up to 7 weeks.
7 weeks?
Yep.
Great.
And he says Lucas could be available. And he said Bissouma is back and he's available.
Bissouma in our best midfield.
Well, if we're talking just on footballing ability, Bissouma probably is our best sitter.
He's our best number 6. 100%. I think this midfield as well would be in certain games. I would love to see if Bergval's fit, Bergval and Gallagher here. In certain games when we want to be really attacking, with Simmons in the 10, and Tell off the left.
But if everyone's fit, our best 10 is Maddison.
I think it's
our best 10 is Maddison.
Yeah, I think so. So Maddison instead of Xavi, maybe Xavi off the left, Maddison in the centre, Decky off the right. Is there enough pace there?
Bissouma is our best 6 if we're just judging footballing ability, but his contract's up at the end of the season. We're not going to renew it.
I think this double pivot would be chaotic though, Bergval and Gallagher. But I think there are certain games once Bergval matures a bit, even more.
That is not our best midfield, man.
I'm not saying it's our best midfield. I'm just saying I would love to see that in certain games, like when we want to be on the front foot.
Like this weekend,
we want
you'd like to see that, yeah.
Because I think there's enough energy in those two that they won't necessarily be overrun.
Yeah, but
I think the biggest problem
you've
is...
swayed the conversation off path. We're talking about cup final.
No, I've moved on from that.
Who is our best midfield if we're picking a cup final team tomorrow? And not tomorrow, at the start of next season.
Start of next season. Well, everyone's, I guess Gallagher.
Maddison has to be in there. Maddison has to be the 10, in my opinion.
So Xavi left out completely.
We're going on who our best midfield is. And unfortunately, if we're going on 10, Maddison's the best.
So if we're saying Bentancur, Maddison, Gallagher.
If it is a cup final, I might prefer Paulinho there, though, to be fair.
Yeah, me too. But, and you think there's enough. Well, I don't know. Paulinho, I don't like the thought of Paulinho and Gallagher playing together. There's something about that. It just tells me that would be a disaster.
Either or, it's a very hard decision.
Yeah. Well, but you put Gallagher, because everyone's saying Gallagher definitely is our best midfielder.
Well, you have Paulinho as the sitter. You have Gallagher as the box-to-box. You have Maddison as the 10. I can see it working.
There's so many options. We haven't even mentioned Sarr once in this video.
Yeah, Pape as well.
He's coming back. Obviously, Decky I don't know if he's going to be seen more as a right winger. It'll be interesting to see if Bissouma gets any game time. Was on the bench this weekend. And that's going to be very interesting if he starts to play his way back. But we're going to need him. But I think there's lots of different ways we can get Gallagher. I think we can set up with Gallagher as well. Do you think as well? Obviously, we saw him play Bergval off the right. And he's obviously played left wing sometimes for Atletico. Is there any games maybe we might see him in these wide attacking roles?
No.
If we need be.
Only if we have a major injury crisis. Well, we do at the moment.
Which we do.
I think even with the options that we have, I don't think we see him there. Not in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean...
To be fair, though, we've seen Bergval there.
That's what I'm saying. We saw Bergval for left and the right.
Yeah, knowing Thomas Frank, we probably will see it, to be honest, but I don't want to see it, if that makes sense.
I agree. I just think with our lack of options centre mid, why play him in those positions? But as you said, we
don't even have a lack of options in centre mid, though. This whole lack of options in centre mid thing is a fallacy, man. It's not true. We don't have a lack of options in centre mid.
Or lack of good options, mate. Or lack of good options. What's going on here?
We've got Paulinho. We've got Connor now. We've got Pape, who's only going to miss one more game. We've got Bissouma. We've got Gray. We've got Bergvall. We've got 6 midfielders.
Well, I guess Bergvall's fit. So, also the narrative that we've signed him just because of Bentancur, probably not true. Do you think if Bentancur doesn't get injured, we still get him?
Well, it could be as well that he doesn't rate people like Pape. Like, I don't know. Maybe he thinks that Bergvall, he obviously doesn't see Bergvall as an option in the double pivot, which I think is crazy. Maybe he thinks Gray isn't totally ready to start every game in the Premier League, which is true. So this is from Frank's mind. But in terms of options, we do have options.
All right, well, those are the different ways we think Spurs can set up with Gallagher.
All right, well, there you have it.